Hello, I'm Delia,
And I'm Henry.
and this is the
Money and People podcast.
If you haven't yet, please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and
Share, like, and comment.
enjoy the rest of the video. In today's episode, we are going to share with you our personal experience with rejection. Do you want to go first?
Sure. Rejection is a terrible thing. And as much as we try to avoid it, at some point in our lives, we have been rejected before. We are being rejected, or we may face rejection in future. So my first rejection story comes in when I was looking for internship. There was an international organization under the UN. I was going around dropping applications, and this UN body happened to be one of the offices where I dropped my application. A few weeks later, I received a phone call. It was from the same organization. A lady had called me saying they were impressed with my CV and wanted to have a conversation with me about an internship. This was exciting for me because it was a dream job. I remember it was on a Tuesday and the appointment was set for Thursday, 10 hours. And so, of course, you go home, you wait for your mom to come back from work, and you tell her the story, and you're excited. Next morning, however, around 10 hours, I received a phone call. The same lady, it sounded like there was a man standing next to her, or at least talking, could hear a voice, calls me and said, yes, you were scheduled to have a meeting today, an interview tomorrow, but we have since cancelled it. And no reasons were given. And it was very, very heartbreaking, of course. I was sad about it. And that wasn't even the worst part. A few weeks down the line, I received an envelope from the UN, and it had my CV and everything I had submitted. How sad was that?
Well, at least they had the courtesy to give you back your documents
They
so
could
that
have shredded
maybe
them.
you can use them for your next application. They didn't want you to waste paper because they realized you were struggling job hunter, maybe.
Okay, they could have at least just, hidden them somewhere so that you just give someone that little bit of hope, say, no, maybe it was a mistake. If they called me the first time, they'll probably call me the second time. But if you then have everything brought back to you, I don't know.
It's so weird, and it's so similar to my story as well,
Yeah.
where they just go quiet on you. I don't know why they do that, but I'm sure we can discuss that in the end. So yours is a bit similar to my story because mine is also a story of rejection in the job search. So the time when I think I was in my first job, but I was trying to look for another job. So I applied, and I got called by one of the telecommunication companies. And they said, oh, you should come for an interview. But I said, I'm on the copper belt. Is it possible that you can interview me over the phone? And they said, no, there's no problem with that. We can interview you over the phone. And I asked them, are you sure this is okay? Because I felt they were making an adjustment for me. But she said, no, there's no problem because we've even got one of the interviewers is based in another country. So they'll also just join via conference call, and that will be fine. So I was excited. I even got a Mother's Day from work on that day.
At least you didn't lie to your employer.
Yeah, I just told them I need a Mother's Day.
Yeah.
They gave it to me. And then the interview was for 14 hours. So 14 hours came, I was ready, waiting for the call. The call never came. And at around 14:30, I was getting worried. So I think I wrote a text to the lady, and she said the person that they were interviewing, the interview was running over, so I should just wait, they'll call me. Waited and waited, and then like around 16, I just then got a phone call from the lady saying, no, it won't be possible to interview you because we can't do a phone interview.
Didn't they know this from the start?
I don't know, because maybe if they told me they wouldn't be able to interview me on the phone, maybe I would have made travel arrangements and traveled all the way to Lusaka, but they didn't. And that made me just feel really rejected.
Did you get a cup of milk?
No, I just I don't even know but how the rest of the day went, but I know it sucked. Yeah.
No, it's terrible. I mean, we'll talk about it from the human capital side later on, but I think it's important for employers to be a bit organized. First of all, if you had a vacancy, you shortlisted people who you wanted to see, and you wanted to see each and every one of those candidates for a special reason. So you must have liaised with the entire panel, knowing where they would be, at what time, and so on and so forth. So to then there are, delayed interviews are really normal. Interviews go differently. But to not just see somebody, then why did you have them on the list in the first place?
Look, I suspect that maybe that previous interview went so well, and then they decided that it wasn't worth even wasting time over me, especially because I didn't make the commitment to come in person. So maybe they just said, you know what, let's just go with the same person that we've
Which I
interviewed.
still think is terrible. First of all, you had agreed in person or virtual. There was a discussion which was had. And the point which you speak to about, having other candidates or a candidate where an interview went so well is also terrible prejudice. And I remember in my time at recruitment, there was an interview there was a job for which I was interviewing, and I had set a panel. It was out of town. And the night before traveling, I then received a phone call. This was around 6 p.m. Somebody from that branch, it was branch-based organization. So somebody from that branch calls me and says, look, why are you guys wasting your time coming here? We already know the person you've chosen. There was a list of 5 candidates. So we even know the person. The recruiting manager came here before you, and he was even saying, where's my person? Where's my person? So we all know. So we don't even know why you even booking a room. We could have used it for other things. Well, that kind of hit me by surprise, because honestly, I wasn't aware if there was a cartel. But
Yeah.
and that's where HR sort of have to be very assertive, have to be very professional. And the assurance I gave the person was, look, there's no such thing. And if you're in touch with the people who are being interviewed, just assure them that everything's going to be fine. Let them give their 200%.
Yeah.
So interview started, and the named candidate was first, and she was okay. She was good. And after we finished the interview, and I think that's where I then realized that something wasn't really right, because after that interview, then had the panel saying, yeah, I think we have our candidate. Do we have to see everybody else? We've got work to do, and so on and so forth. So I had to step in and say, no, there are 5 people you have to see, and you will see them, and you will score them, and we will have a discussion afterwards. HR sometimes tend to just say, oh, the tide and stuff like that. There's a reason you are there in a panel. You have to ensure that the interview goes well, everybody's given a fair opportunity to be heard, and the best candidate is chosen objectively. And so I insisted. Luckily, it wasn't a hard conversation to have. The panel agreed, and so we interviewed the remaining 4. So second candidate, okay, third, fourth, and it was time for the 5th candidate. Everyone was tired, and then this shy little girl comes in, and yeah, everyone's just looking like, we're done. We already know who we wanted, sort of. And she gave this interview which left everybody's jaw dropped. And then what was funny then is the recruiting manager starts saying, who's that person? I'm like, yeah, she was one of those people. And they're like, why didn't you tell us about her? I'm like, that's why the person is on the list.
Yeah.
And I got to shouting, you should be telling us about the talent in the company and so on. Like, yes, boss, that's why the person is being interviewed.
Yeah.
And she aced the interview. And the funny thing is, within a space of a year, which was unheard of, she was even promoted to a more senior role.
Wow.
Yeah. So the point is, if you've chosen a list of candidates to interview, see all of them. Don't make up your mind after candidate 2 or 3. See all of them. You just don't know that person that you don't know. And there we were.
Give everyone a fair chance.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which brings me to my other horror story. Yeah, I was in the job hunt, and I had a cousin. I used to call her my sister. We were besties, and she had friends and so on. And she had passed on. And then, during or after the funeral, you know how people always come. If you need anything, call me, and so on and so forth. I was like, yes, I actually do need something. I need a job.
Yeah.
And I would be calling this person. She wouldn't be picking up. I don't know if I'd sent my CV, but I needed to speak to her, make an appointment, and see if there was an opportunity. And she just would never pick up my phone until the last time I then called her. It was in the evening around 5 or so. She picked up, and I was like, "Yeah, it's me. I wanted to talk to you about a possible job." She just said, "I don't have a job," and she hung up on me. I was like, "Okay." Um, Anyway, it was a good thing in the sense that for me, it was a realization that maybe you're on your own and don't rely too much on people. And you already have the skill, you have your papers, you have the talent.
Yeah.
Just go get it.
Yeah, it's true. And I guess what I've learned from what you're saying is just how sometimes your connection may not actually be that connection that helps you. Because for you, you knew that, okay, this person might help me. But then also maybe they were torn. They didn't maybe have a job. Maybe they were just saying, yes, I can help you for the sake of saying it. Can she? You were determined. And also, I think maybe that's something that you people who work in human resources face is just probably an overload of people always thinking that they can send you their CV or you can hook their relative up with a job. So I wonder how you deal with it, because I'm sure that lady just maybe she got, tired of ignoring your calls. Then eventually she just said, I don't have a job for you. So I don't know how you deal with it, because she's one person. But imagine for you, who like your main job is even around recruitments. I'm sure you get a lot of such people just trying to reach out to you for a job.
No, definitely. You get, I mean, my inbox is flooded with, can I send my CV? I need a job. First things first, I don't create jobs. We have every organization that you work for will have a manpower plan.
Yeah.
And, when there's time to recruit, adverts will go and so on and so forth. I'm a process-oriented person, so 10 out of 10 times, you just have to go. I'm not a connection. I'm not that guy you meet at Granddaddy's who says, give me your CV, I'll hook you up. I would not. It's a lie. So just apply. And then, just do your best, apply, submit your your CV and everything else. Just submit your very best. And it's, if you're good enough and competitive enough, you will go through the lines. Yes, we do get I do get a lot of messages about, I need a job, I need this. Unfortunately, I don't give jobs. It's not. I'm just being honest. And
Yeah.
I think I try to be as honest as possible with people, just to say, look, first of all, if we haven't advertised, then there is no job. There's no vacancy.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, if we have advertised, there is governance. There are a lot of people who are involved in that recruitment process. So it's not just, oh, the guy from HR will hook us up. No, there are long processes and so on and so forth. The truth is, we've all been through these things, and I do sympathize. But also, there's only so much I can do, and it's important that I'm honest with you, as opposed to promising things that are not realistic.
But maybe people are just being proactive. The job market being what it is today, you fear that by the time that advert is out, thousands of people would have applied. But maybe if I send my CV to you, you will keep it. And when you just see, like, okay, you look at the workforce plan, okay, this opportunity will fall vacant. I've got so and so's CV already. Let me put it among the first ones before those main applications come in. Maybe that's what people are thinking you can do for them.
That is a point. However, remember, there's been a lot of automation in the recruitment sphere and governance and audit. So whenever we do advertise, you have to go through the chain. There's a portal which receives CVs.
Yeah.
Those CVs are then filtered, screened, and so on and so forth. So me having your CV in hand and it hasn't gone through all of those processes, nothing will happen. And so most of the time, the feedback I'll then give people is, yes, I've seen and I understand you need the job. It's something that you can try out, but please just go through the application process.
Yeah.
And it makes all of our lives easier, mine and yours, so that it's not necessarily awkward. So just if there is a portal to which you apply to the portal. It's okay to reach out to someone and say, are there vacancies in this? And you will get that answer. But sometimes you get, I need a job, get me a job. Like, no, it doesn't work like that, boss. So at
Okay.
least it's okay to make a casual inquiry, and you will receive a response. I think I do. I think I try my best to respond to everyone, but over and above that, I'm not going to tell you, yes, I'm your guy, give me a hooky. No, it's not. It's not going to happen.
Okay. Speaking of processes, what you're just telling me about, there's a process that you need to follow. It reminded me of another time that I got rejected. I think maybe that's what was happening in the background. So when I was in uni, in I think my third year, one of the big four audit firms came to do a presentation. And after they did the presentation, they called out four of us. Yeah. They called out four of us and said, I don't know if it was because of our performance, but they told us to just wait when everyone was gone, that they would talk to us. So when everyone was gone, then they talked to us and told us that we were going to do our internship with them over our vacation. Yeah. So I was really excited. And I even asked to say, oh, because they had two offices, one office on the Copper Belt, one in Lusaka, can I work from Quito office because my family was on the Copper Belt? So they agreed. And I said, do I need to apply? They said, no, you don't need to apply. We already have your names and your details. That's why we called out the four of you. Okay, great. And everyone else from my class was asked to submit their application and their CVs. And for us, we didn't because we knew that our internship was secure. Then they called now for people after, I think, 2 weeks. Yeah. After 2 weeks, they called for people to now go and collect their letters for their internship. Yeah. And all my friends were like, yeah, let's go. But I didn't receive a call. I was like, no, how come I didn't receive a call? No, let's go. Because for you, they already said you already have the internship. So let's just go. Maybe they didn't even need to call you. So I go over there with my friends and there is no letter for me. There's just no letter. Like it was one of like the most embarrassing days of my life. I felt rejected, but I also felt embarrassed.
Shame.
Yeah, and I was really sad. I really had this passion. I wanted to work for that firm for a long time. It was my dream to work for that firm. And also because my friends were very supportive during that time. I think I remember they really comforted me and they gave me the phone number for HR in Lusaka so that I could call, and HR assured me they would do something. Then I think the following day, the manager who came and gave the presentation at school called and told me that no, sorry, nothing can be done, but he's got a friend who owns the company, so maybe I can go and do my internship there. But my parents really weren't comfortable with that arrangement. They didn't know this other company that well. And so, yeah, my dad just hooked me up with an internship at a different company. So I think for me, it left me asking a lot of questions. Is it that maybe if I had submitted my CV at the same time as everyone else, or is it because maybe I had that special request to work on the Copper Belt? Because the other three guys whose names were called out, they didn't mind working in Lusaka. So for them, they went. I don't think they had to apply. So maybe it was because I asked to work on the Copper Belt, but I wish they told me there was no opportunities for internship on the Copper Belt. Then I would have applied for Lusaka. Like I just still had so many questions and didn't have closure. But funny enough, when we were in our final year, we applied again to that same company, and I went through the whole recruitment process, aptitude tests, interviews, and whatever. And that was where I got my first job. I spent 3 years there. So it ended up well, but the first few months working there, I had that kind of bitterness in my heart.
Well, it was unfortunate.
Yeah.
To be honest, sometimes we do tend to see, and I think the only person who knows what happened is the same recruiting. This is the same guy who came through.
Yeah.
We can only make assumptions, but from experience, the person may not have known what they were talking about. That's one. Because for every job, remember, audit takes place. So I then wonder what was going to be on your file at the time if they didn't receive your application letter or your CV and all of that and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So it sounds like somebody was just overzealous and then they thought they were magic men. They could make things happen. And then when they went back, I think a few realities were sort of, trashed, thrown into them, and they were made to understand that you just don't do things anyhow.
Yeah.
But also, you find that then the damage had already been done and it couldn't be fixed.
Yeah.
That's probably why he then came up. Because if he did the right thing, I don't then understand why he would start offering you internships elsewhere. Perhaps he felt guilty, but it sounds like somebody was just overzealous and it backfired and they just couldn't say. But it was really unfortunate. It should be nice to have the person just explain themselves and just say what really happened.
Yeah, that is true. Do you have any other stories of rejection?
Yes.
You have a whole book.
There's a lot. I mean, look, the job market is really, really hard. And I remember at the time I was actually going for my interview I worked for F&B, by the way, in case you didn't know. So at that time, I remember being called for an interview, and because the job search was so hard, I remember going to the interview with a nice looking suit. It was favorable, of course. It was okay suit with nicely polished shoes, but the one thing that nobody would have noticed or thought of was my shoes actually had holes under them because of the walking. In town, would get on a bus in the morning with a whole envelope of applications, and you'll be throwing them. I only had one pair of shoes, and you'll be dropping them, and over time the shoe just got worn out, and the socks were affected as well. So I was really just working
overtime.
No, it was working overtime with no payment even. It got paid because the job was really good, which I got. But so the job hunt is really, really it's quite a challenge. But my last story was to do with academics, actually, going into a job hunt. So I'd been working on my dissertation, and there was this issue of connections. I think we need to have a talk about it. Connections. Connection. So yes, there was a connection who was interested in my CV. I was doing research. And so one of the data points where I needed to get my information was one of the agencies in the country. Hint, hint, they have an office on Dedan Kimati and another one on Ridgeway. If you don't get it, shame. So yes, there was this person. He was in charge of research, and so I went to see him. He was recommended, and this person was like, "Yeah, no, we help you." They always say it's easy.
Yeah,
it's easy. We can do this. 2 minutes, whatnot. Just come through at 8 hours in the morning. We'll deal with this. I went there at 8 hours, and remember, I was broke. I didn't have transport, man.
Yeah.
So I really had to be economical. And that's what some people don't get, the amount of time and money that they waste for individuals, as opposed to just telling the truth. Just say, I don't know.
Just tell them you can't help them, so that they find someone else who can help you.
Just don't lie. It's okay. You don't owe the person an explanation. You don't owe somebody anything. But anyway, so I was there. Of course, if he says 8 hours, you'll be there by 7:30.
Yeah.
And from 7:30, I'll be there just waiting. 8, I'll say, no, let's give him 15 minutes traffic.
Yeah.
Nothing. 9 hours, you start calling. He would cut the line. No, I'm coming. I'm just at the corner. That would be the line. Like, I'm just at the corner. And this at the corner would go on until 5 p.m. And you'd have to go back. And then he would call and be, no, sorry, X, Y, Z, whatnot, this happened tomorrow. Again, you get on a bus. The beauty is that, I'm a mama's boy, so I always used to pour out to my mom.
Yeah.
And she would just say, it's okay, just do what he says, it's going to be fine. She was always an optimist.
Yeah.
So I'd go there next day, until sometimes you have to wake up and smell the coffee to say, look, this person's not going to help you. And so I just had to find other sources, did my research, I got good grades and so on. And then he calls, oh no, did you finish your research? Yes, I did. I even graduated. Oh, can I have a look at your document? No, it's fine. Met him, gave him the research. I mean, it was so long ago, but it even had proposals for toll gates and stuff like that. That's how futuristic it was. But anyway, so he then says, yeah, no, this is a good paper. We're going to give you a job. This is actually great. This is actually what we've been thinking of doing, and so on and so forth. You seem to understand. So come tomorrow at 8. Yeah, the story goes back again. 7:30, after 17, 7:30. Until one day I just said, okay, guys, maybe I wasn't meant to be, and just left it. And that's how it ended. So again, I think it was rejection, but I think for me, my disappointment was, look, if you don't have data and if you can't help, just say it. Because also, I think what was sad at the time is, and I think that's what we miss out, you're not the only option. This person may have spoken to 5, 6 people. You just happen to be the one who might have the most advantage at the time, but there are alternatives. So the sooner you say no, the person can move on and, engage other people and make progress. So I think I think those were my stories. There are a lot more, but it will have to be grandpa stories. So I think the 3 are enough for today.
Okay. And for you who is watching this video and you're going through one rejection of or the other, I think it's important to know that even though you may see some people looking successful, they probably have their own rejection stories. So do not feel like it's the end of the world. It's a story that you will get to tell one day, like we are right now. In the moment, it felt like our world was crashing, and why was this person so mean? Why did they reject me? But I think we wouldn't have been where we are today if we didn't have to pass through that kind of rejection.
No, that's true. And take everything as a lesson. Take everything as a learning opportunity. And also, it also helps you become vulnerable, because you get to, from rejection, you get to appreciate how it feels, and you wouldn't wish it on the next person. And so from there, it helped me become a better person, understanding people a whole lot more, being empathetic, and also trying to be as upfront as possible. If I can't help, I can't help. I'm not going to make unrealistic promises about how I'm your guy. I'll do this for you. I'll do that. Where you can help, but where you can't, you can't. But also, just maybe you can't at the time, but you can have the person in the back of your mind, and if should something ever come up, or something, you can alert them of an opportunity, ask them to apply, and all of that stuff. But I think you don't owe it to make unnecessary promises. You just ruin people's lives. People become depressed. And in terms of the job hunt, like I said earlier, just keep pushing. There are people who just have been fortunate. They've just walked into jobs, and that's fine. There are some people who've had to wait for some time. Others we've heard stories of people going so many years and so on. But I think for me, my learning point is do your part. Go to school, be the best student that you can be, get your papers, get your certificates, your diplomas, your degrees, and so on and so forth. Also enrich your knowledge and experience by volunteering. I'll do a video about that. Let's not go into that. And be ready. Opportunities will always come, but what's important is for you to be ready for that. Remember, before I had my first job, I was walking around town with shoes which had holes underneath and torn socks. I was literally walking on the ground. My feet would even have blisters and so on and so forth. But it turned out to be okay in the end, and it's going to be okay for everyone. It's only a matter of time. But what's important, do your bit, do your best, and that opportunity should find you ready.
Definitely. The goal is for it to find you ready. So thank you so much for watching, and remember to share your rejection stories in the comments. Until next time. Bye.